The music pans down, so that can mean only one thing and one thing only. Let me see if I find the right button. So this did not work as expected. Okay, cool. Why not? Why do my buttons not work? Starting with technical issues. This is perfect. This is how we do it. This is how we roll. So this should have been worked. Okay, so those buttons don't work. I have to use this button. All right, this is something I can handle today. I will fix this for next time, which, by the way, already, spoiler alert, is not next week. So, hello, welcome, and a very wonderful evening, morning, middle of the night, or whatever it is in your time zone you're currently sitting at, or whatever time it is when you're watching this back on YouTube, either because you missed the Twitch stream or because you found the Twitch stream to be so amazing and so super cool and so void of any warranty. You had to rewatch it, and the VOD on Twitch is gone, and you still need to rewatch it for a fourth time. So you went to YouTube, and you're about to leave me some comments with your questions, because right now, right at this very second, while I am saying this, and also the next hour that follows it, you can slam your questions into the chat. If you have any questions, they don't specifically have to do with what I'm currently doing on stream. They can be general game development related questions, like we're doing Unity today and you're having a question about Unreal Engine. Feel free to ask. If you have a question about Godot, I can already answer that. I have never used Godot, so I don't know. That's quite easy to answer. So yeah, welcome everyone. So we've done a lot of Unreal in the past. We've done the whole season 1, like I like to call it, the first 10 sessions. We've done pretty much exclusively C++ in Unreal Engine. Pretty deep stuff for people who like to write classic code, but we are going to write classic code line by line by line during the following weeks as well. So the last 3 times we've sat here together, we've again done a bit of Unreal, but we took more a look at the basics, like for people, because I've been asked a lot, like, okay, I've never really used Unreal, so how do I get started with it? Stachopi, hi there. What's up? Well, we see. We'll be doing Unity today. Yeah, so see, this question brings me exactly to my point. We've done so much Unreal in the past, and the last 3 times. Excuse me. Lubrication for the throat, as always. Some things will never change. So we've done a lot of Unreal, and the last 3 times we looked at the basics, like how to get started. If you've never used Unreal, how to open the how to get how to get your first thing into your scene and how to make it do stuff. So we're trying to do the same with Unity from now on. So we're doing a little getting started with Unity. We'll take a look at what's what, how do things work, what are game objects, why are game objects, and what do we do with game objects, and what is this C# everyone's talking about, and why do we need it, and how do we use it once we need it? What game do we make? We're actually not really making a game during the course of... Jesus Christ, yes, I know. There's a firmware update for my lights. Make that shut up. This is the time. This is the time we're living in. There's a firmware update for my light, my shiny brightness photon emitting thing that makes me look, I don't know, it makes me look like something. We're not actually making a game in the course of this tutorial. We're just taking a brief look, not a brief, we're taking a general look at Unity, how it works. So this is, if you're already well versed in Unity, if you already know Unity and you know your ways around, this is probably not for you. However, should you want that, we can do that. We can plan for future sessions where we do a bit more in-depth stuff and maybe actually build a small little game during the course of the tutorial. However, that's possible within a few evenings. On a stream, there's only so much you can do. However, we did do a little, you can call it a game. Back when we did C++ for Unreal, we made a little game of life implementation where you have this grid of cells. Some are alive, some are dead. Not at the same time. They are either or, not and. It's not Schrodinger's game of life. And yeah, well, it would just calculate the next generations then over and over. And you could click on cells to make the dead ones alive and the alive ones. Maybe we actually, it might actually be a cool idea to make this in Unity again. So we've done this in Unreal. So maybe it's not that a bad idea to replicate this and to recreate this in Unity. That's actually a neat idea. I will be thinking about this. I will be thinking about this a lot because I actually like the idea. So yeah, but currently the plan is to take a more general look at Unity. At first, today, we look at the editor in general. We see what are the components of the editor? What do I see? Where can I click and why can't I click there? And how to rearrange stuff and how to customize it. And we'll see how to drop a few game objects into the scene, and then we'll fire up the IDE and write our first C# script to make them do something like, I don't know, maybe move. Maybe just slowly move about the screen. You have to start somewhere. Next week, we will be looking at player controls. So these things are just not moving by themselves, but you can actually control them as the player. And following that, we will be taking a look at prefabs, how to use prefabs, what prefabs are, and if prefabs are really an abbreviation for prefabricated. Because honestly, I don't know. It could be anything. So yeah, that's the plan. Try to make a new Valheim. I think the current developers of Valheim did an amazing job. And trying to create a new Valheim, that's quite an undertaking. If you're starting to make a game and your goal is to do what the Valheim guys did, well, you've got something ahead of you because, I haven't played it myself yet. I've only been told from people what the actual gameplay is and what you do, and I've seen screenshots and a few videos, and it's amazing. It just looks amazing, and it sounds amazing. It sounds like exactly the game I love to play because I love sandbox games, and I like sandbox survival games. I have a lot of hours in Subnautica, and this is basically Subnautica in different and more and bigger and wow. And the base building, I love it if you can just build your base or your house or whatever. This is something I can spend not hours, not days, but weeks with, just building my base, setting up my house and stuff. You never know how make better graphics in Unity. It's not easy. To make graphics in Unity, I can spoiler you this. To make graphics in Unity that look like what you see in Valheim, that is a huge amount of work. That is really, really not easy. Yeah, I have no idea how they did it. Maybe eventually they will do like a post-mortem, or they will do some talks on some conferences. Maybe they will even have a talk on Devcom eventually. Who knows? Maybe we should ask them. Because I would love a talk where they actually talk about how they created these graphics, how they made these graphics, these visuals in Unity. So, speaking about making something in Unity, oh, right, I have to use the other button because, well, let's officially and finally get started. shall we? Let's dive right into it. See you on the other side of that intro thingy. Oh yeah, and here we are, directly slid into the other scene where you actually can see the screen. More of the screen, less of me, because that's what you want, that's what you're here for. So, Unity. Make something in Unity, especially nice graphics. I think that would be a whole tutorial series on its own. And I would have to ask my artist, who managed to make amazing graphics in Unity already. So maybe I should team up with him and and eventually dig down the rabbit hole on how to actually make amazing graphics in Unity, because it is possible. It is possible, but as said, there's two caveats to this. The first one is it's a crap load of work just to get cool graphics, and the second is you're going to hate your life so hard you want to jump out of the window. But it's possible, as you can see, it's possible. But to get to these amazing graphics, you first have to somehow get into the Unity editor at all. And your very first thing, your very first point of contact, your first contact with Unity is the Unity hub, because you don't just start the engine and right away. No. You have the Unity hub, and the Unity hub, among a few tiny other things, handles two things. It handles all your Unity installs, because if you're actually using Unity and you're using Unity on multiple projects, you don't have just the one project, and every now and then you update the engine version, and then really, I don't know, go sit in the corner and cry for a while after you did that. You will end up with several installations of Unity. You won't just have one version of Unity, because every project needs has a different version, and there is even minor versions. I mean, this is like, see, this is 2020.1.6 and this is 2020.1.10. So there's already differences, and you don't always want to upgrade your project depending on how far it is, how big it is. You don't just want to upgrade your engine version. But this is not something that's unique to Unity. This goes for basic, I think every engine. If you update the engine, things in the engine change, and maybe just that one thing you use that changes, and then it breaks, and you have to fix stuff and to make it compatible with a new version. So you usually only update in early stages of the project, while it's pretty easy, while you actually just can say, okay, come on, use the new version and go for it, and that works. But eventually you will update the version you will update the engine less and less, and your Unity hub might end up looking something like this, and this is even pretty moderate. I mean, this isn't even too wild. This is pretty moderate. I think my artist I'm working with, he has even more Unity versions installed. Like, I don't know, somewhere in the 2 digits. This is only like, what's that? This is 8 different engine versions. And yes, they've all there were projects that at one point used each and every one of them. There's not one version where I just said, come on, I would just install this for the fun, because this is the only way to fill up my hard drive for something. So get comfortable with the idea that your Unity hub, your installed section where your Unity versions are, will look like this or even worse. It will happen. There is, unless you only have this one single project and you're working on nothing else, this will happen. This is you're destined to end up like this. But this is not a bad thing. I mean, it's. You can always uninstall a version you don't need anymore and see like, okay, come on, I have a project with 2021.6. That's pretty easy to update to 2021.10 because the minor versions you usually can update quite easily. There's always an exception to the rule, but usually there's no problem when you're updating the minor version. That usually works rather nicely. And all you have to do, basically, I can show you this once we have a project here. Or wait, I can see, do I have anything here that I'm not supposed to? I don't know. There's maybe a few things. Nah, the other one has a few projects that I'm not sure if it's okay to show them on stream. So once we have our project here, it's really easy. You have a selection of the engine version beneath your project, and you can, from whatever version you have installed, you can just switch and say, okay, use that version from now on. And the throat, again, of course, needs lubrication. Oh, Games Bavaria. Greetings from Bavaria. Oh yeah, greetings from Bavaria to Bavaria. Yes, I'm sitting, I don't know, is it the heart of, I don't know. I'm sitting somewhere in Bavaria. I have no idea if it's the heart of Bavaria. For me personally, it is, because this is my place and I like it here. So yeah, hi there. Welcome. So yeah, the heart of Bavaria is where your heart is. Okay, well, yeah, then I'm definitely at the, yeah, then I'm sitting at the heart of Bavaria. That's actually that's a nice way of looking at it. I like this. Yeah, I will keep this in mind. This is cool. So yeah, actually doing the upgrade is pretty easy. It's literally just in a selection drop down, selecting a different version. You might then run into incompatibilities when you open your project and maybe you run it. And this is where you have to fix stuff to be compatible with the other version. But again, minor versions are usually in over 90% of the cases, they just work. You just switch the version and everything's fine. If you have I don't know, wait, if that's the minor, is that the minor? I don't know. I have no idea how this versioning scheme works. But if you take the middle number, that's a 1 here. When that like becomes a 2, there's still a very good chance you'll be fine. But only do it if you have really spare time on your hand. But chances are good you'll be fine. However, when the year changes, this is when they make the big updates. When the 2019 version becomes the 2020 version, this is when they usually have the big updates, or when they introduce, because there's one very, very super important feature that usually was reserved to professional or plus users or whatever, and now it made its way into the free version of Unity, and this is one of the most important features ever, and I'm very happy that it's enabled by default. And yes, of course, I'm talking about dark mode. What else? Oh, that's gonna be talking about. Hey, bacon for everyone. Oh, this is fitting because I did have lunch, but I need the other thing. What's the thing that comes a few hours after lunch? Is that dinner? Yeah, that's dinner, right? Since there's for everyone a slice of bacon, that might be, bacon for is it dinner? I don't know. Dinner's the thing you do in the evening when you're done with work, or what? Is that? Vespa. Yeah, the Vespa is the Bavarian version of, what is it? It's somewhere in the middle of breakfast, lunch, and whatever you do after lunch. And I like it. Bacon for everyone. Good to hear. Yes, bacon for everyone is... that's the plan. For everyone. Except for vegetarians and vegans. They get... I don't know. They get something else that is still cool. Whatever that is. But I'm sure there's... So, now we have an empty projects pane here, and finally we want to get to see the shiny dark mode. And if you already have your project somewhere on your hot disk, like you checked out a Git repository and you want to start working on it, you just hit the add button. and then navigate to your folder where the project is. We don't have that right now, so we just hit the new button. You can either hit the new button and it will create a new project with the most recent engine version you have installed, I think. Or, to be super duper sure, you can hit the little arrow part, the triangle part of the button. You can hit that, and then you can choose your engine version. I will just choose the newest one I have. I know there's newer. This is already outdated when I'm doing this, but these are the two engine versions I currently have installed on this machine. And I didn't want to go through the trouble of installing another one because I wasn't sure. It takes a while. It has to download a lot. It has to install a lot. So I wasn't sure if I make it to the end of the stream. But maybe I will install the very newest version for next time. We'll sit here together and then I will show you how to do an engine upgrade. How to upgrade or update the engine for your project. So now we've talked about it. Okay. You convinced me. Next time you'll see it. Next time. Oh, wait. I completely forgot to host this channel from my own one. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I tried to not let this happen again. So we do new and we take the 2021-10 because this is the most recent version I have. And now we have to choose. We have to choose if we want to do something in 2D, we want to do something in 3D, if we want to use high definition render pipeline, or if we want to use universal render pipeline. Spoiler, these two were already deprecated when they were introduced, so don't use those. And these two are also not mutually exclusive. It's not like that when I choose 2D, I can't do 3D or the other way around. When you choose 2D, you still can use the 3D functionality. When you use 3D, you still can use all the 2D functionalities Unity has. It's just, it sets a few sensible defaults, like if you know and if the engine knows, okay, you're planning to do mostly, if not exclusively 3D, then I'll be laying out a few things a bit differently. So, yeah. You have a more smoother start. So this is the name of your project, and this is, of course, our totally super duper test project. Yes, and of course, every project needs to be somewhere. It needs to have a home, so we can also choose a folder. I will just choose this nice new folder where our Unreal project from the last few evenings is still sitting there and being sad that no one cares about it anymore. So anyways, this is the folder. This is our project. You hit create, and that's basically it. You've created your first Unity project. The thing is just there's nothing in it yet. And the other thing is the editor layout. Some people, maybe even a lot of people, are super fine with the default layout of the editor. It's just like with Unreal. I've seen a lot of people who work with the default Unreal editor layout, and this is perfectly fine if this works for you. Great, you have nothing to do after starting it. For me, however, I don't like this kind of layout. This, I don't know. It just that's just not me. And also, here we go. Where's the update window? It's hidden. I can't get it. Oh yeah. Unity editor update check. Is there any way I can get content into this window? No. Yeah. I'll leave this without further comment. So this is the default Unity editor layout. And let's first talk a bit about what this is before I start rearranging and dragging stuff around so it more suits my, well, needs is the wrong word, but it suits more what I like, what I'm comfortable where my workflow works best. So the big thing here in the middle, this is your editor scene view, and this is a very, very different. This is something that's quite different when compared to Unreal. Because in Unity, you can see here, besides the scene tab, there's a game tab hiding. And right now, it kind of looks the same. You need dark style in Unity to be, I think it's default. I haven't done anything yet. I think dark mode is default on new installations. Why only if you pay for the license we can do this style? No. Dark mode is not only dark mode is in the free version now. Since I think Bacon for Everyone, if he's still around, I think he might know the exact version number. But dark mode actually made it into the free version of Unity. And this is in one of the earlier 2020 versions, 2020.1. I don't know, but let's ask Google. Maybe Google know. Look at that. See, there he is, Bacon for Everyone to the rescue. 2019 even. In 2019.4 and newer, you have dark mode in the free version, and it's even default. If you have a fresh install of Unity, this is a fresh install of Unity. I did have them pre-installed, but I hadn't used them yet. What you have is still white. Yeah, you can. This is a preference. You can actually change this. Now this is a very rich populated preference window, isn't it? I wanted to show you the preferences. Maybe it's project settings. No. Project settings doesn't really look better. The only thing in the history of Unity that was backported. Yeah. Preferences. Okay, let's try to restart Unity. That quite. Oh yeah, this is another thing you have to get used to. You have to restart Unity about every 3.5 minutes for it to work. Because Unity will crash just because it exists. So we open our project and we try this again. Because yeah, like Bacon for Everyone just said, from 2019.4 onwards, press F to pay respect. Yeah, I could try to press F. Maybe that gives me my preferences dialog. Let's try this again. Yeah, see? Have you tried turning it off and on again? And of course, it always fixes only everything. So, I don't know, where's this? General? Here, yeah, general. Not sure if you can see this. Let me see if I can find my magnifier. Here it is. This is just in the preferences general, and then you go just a little bit down and you got, where do you have it? Here, editor theme. And editor theme, light or dark. This is... Oh, I was about to say nothing's happening, but yeah, something's happening. That's good. This is the old version, like we all know it. And this is the option that was previously only available in the Pro and Plus versions, and is now also available in the free version. Just hit editor theme dark, wait a bit, or maybe you have a more powerful PC than me, and it just goes instant. And there you go. You have the light. You must reinstall. Yeah, as said, it depends on the version. If you have an older version, if you have something prior or older than 2019.4, then you won't have this option. But if you install a newer version like any of the 2020s or yeah, the 2019.4, then you have access to the beautiful, and it's really nice. I really like the dark theme on Unity. I really like this. It's really well. It's sweet to the nice. It's nice. It's just comfortable to work with and look at. It just looks good. Well, let me say something positive. It just looks good. So this is our scene view, and this is our game view. And you can see if I you have to believe me. I can try to hit really hard. I'm not sure if you can hear it. But here, see, I'm clicking with my mouse button and I'm dragging it around, nothing happens. While when I do this here, a lot of things happen. And also you have this this grid here that you don't have here. The reason is because the scene view, this is your actual editor view, and this is one of the biggest differences when working with the Unity editor compared to the Unreal editor. Because in Unreal you only have one view. You have your scene, and you can edit directly in the scene. And if you hit the play button, you are playing in that scene, and stuff that's only meant to be visible in the editor is just hidden and not visible. And in Unity, you actually do have two separate views. This is the view where you do all your edits. Here you can edit everything. We can go a bit further in here. And for me, it's exactly the other way around than with a lot of people I work with. I always have to try and figure out how to move and navigate in Unity. And for the others, they just, it's like, it works. I know, this is muscle memory. For me, it's just exactly the other way around. For me, Unreal is muscle memory. But this, I mean, you only have 3 buttons on your mouse, and one is only for selecting stuff. So it's not that hard to figure out. So yeah, speaking of figuring out, if you hold the right mouse button, you can look around and look up and down. And if you hold the middle mouse button, you can go up and down and sideways. And if you scroll the mouse wheel, you can go backwards and forwards. And the left mouse button is just for selecting things. So, and this is the scene. This is your editing view. This is where you do all the edits. If you have your objects in your scene later on, we'll be adding our first few objects in a moment. And this is where we're going to be doing this. This is where we're going to be placing all our objects, we're moving them around, and be doing stuff to them. And so this is one of the reasons why I like a different layout more, because when you now switch over to this one, what does this show? If we look at the scene again, we have this camera. And when I select the camera, you also see there's a little preview here that shows me what the camera sees. This is exactly the view, what the camera sees with all the parameters, how they are parameterized for this camera, and what it sees. And the game view also sees, it shows you the active camera, because you can have multiple cameras in your scene, but only one of them can be the active main camera that's actually rendering the game for the player. And this little preview shows the view of the camera I currently have selected. So if I would have multiple cameras here and I would select one or each of them, I would see different things here. Currently, I only have this one camera, and to not overcomplicate things, we'll be keeping it at that. So this is the view through the current active main camera that the game will use to actually render its contents to the player. And there's one... Yeah, well, it depends how important this is. Because it should be quite important that you build your games in a way that they do not rely on a certain aspect ratio. Because if you build your game perfectly optimized and everything layouted for 16:9, which is the default ratio of most of the monitors these days, or at least all the monitors you can buy in your local electronics market once they are allowed to open again, is 16:9. And you have an aspect ratio selection up here, which currently says 3 aspect, which means however I resize this, my camera view is exactly the size of whatever I make this the size of. What will happen if we run several cameras at the same time? Depends how you mean that. You can't have more than one active main camera. It's just not possible. There is just only one camera that is the current main camera that's active to render the scene for the main display for the player. You can have multiple cameras in the scene, and they can all be well active in a sense. They are alive and they are doing whatever a camera is doing. But there's only one camera that's the current main camera that's used to actually render your game view for the player. But you can switch between them. So you can have different cameras on different angles, and you can just switch them. You can say, okay, you know, I want this camera to be my main camera now. And then the view switches over. Okay, you can force active more camera. No, you can't. There's only, because it's how do I say that? There's only one slot. There's one piece of information that knows which the current camera is. It's like with your finger. When you're pointing with your finger, let's say you have a lot of, I don't know, things on your table. You can't point to two different things, at least as long as they're wide enough. Let's say they are equal. They are widely spaced on your table. You can only point to one thing at a time with your finger. You can't point to something that's there and to something that's there with one finger. It's just not possible. And it's the same way with the active main camera. There can be only one. It's like the Highlander of cameras. There can be only one. You can change the viewport rect size of the camera. You can have more than one side by side. Okay, yeah, split screen. Okay, this is true. You can right. You can have something like a split screen scenario where you have a couch co-op game where multiple people play on one screen, like Mario Kart with 4 local players. Of course, then you have one camera for each of the players. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that one. But for our purpose, we just have the one camera. That's the active one, and this is what that camera sees. So give it something to see. So if we want to put our first game object in here, usually if you're working on an actual project, you'll be getting these objects from your artist or something. They will have amazingly made models with 3D models and textures and all the nice stuff. We don't have that right now. So just for a simple game object, just hit the right mouse. Well, no, don't. Oh, wait, we don't hit the right mouse button in Unity. We go to. Oh, no, wait, we can't hit the right mouse button here. Ha! Okay, which brings me exactly to my first place, rearrange the damn editor. And let me do this, because you can rearrange this however you want. You can drag this one out. If you do it correctly, you can drag it. Yeah, you can drag it so it becomes a floating window on its own. You can put this there. You can put this here. You can put this wherever you want. I like the tall layout. It's one of the pre-supplied default layouts. It's the tall one with 2 small tweaks. I like to have my game view and my scene view at the same time, so I can see what the camera sees, and at the same time I can move my objects around. And this will become a bit more important a bit more later on. There is another general window that I want to have, which is the console, because this is where all the log entries go. And since we'll also be creating our first C# script, and we might either we do something wrong and there's an error, or we want to put some debug logs into the log. The log has to go somewhere, and this somewhere is this. It's the console, and I like to pin this right down here below the inspector, and what the inspector is will be coming to this. And I also like this in a 1-column layout. See? That's how quickly you can fine-tune your editor layout to whatever suits best for you. Coming back to the aspect ratio, as said, this is by default set to 3 aspect. And so this is whatever size you make, it's the actual size that the camera will render and see, which should be the way you build modern games. Because when you build a modern game these days, yeah, 16:9 is very commonly used these days. But there's people with ultra widescreen or super widescreen or ultra super high screen. I've seen monitors that went up to 32:9, which is basically two 16:9 monitors side by side in the form of just one monitor. And if you do it good, your game will work on aspect ratios like this. Your game will just work. It will have no problem. And to test this, to develop this, and to try this out, it's a bit better to have a free aspect ratio here, so you can see, okay, if I have like a super ultra wide monitor, and you can simulate this by just squeezing this window like so. Yeah, I'm not. This might be something close to 32:9 or something. So you can see if your UI works and if everything is where it's supposed to be. So that's cool. However, you can set a fixed aspect ratio. You can say, no, you know what? I'm working on a retro game. Haha, old school. So we do it 4:3. Or maybe even 5:4, which is basically the same, but some of the 4:3 resolutions actually result in 5:4. This is really strange stuff. For me, it will always be 4:3. This is the aspect ratio I grew up with. But modern days, you got your 16:9, or even, those are the worst ones, 16:10. Watching a movie and always have black borders, even if it's not a movie but a TV show. That's a modern one that's filmed in 16:9. You still have black borders because 16:10. This is the worst. 16:10 is the worst, but I think it's only used in like laptops or whatever. So you can set it to 16:9, and now you can see if you resize this, your camera view will always have a size that sticks to the aspect ratio you set here. So if you do something that's fixed to 16:9 for whatever reason, then you can do this. And just for now, I think we just keep it at that and see that we get the rest. Now we can make this, I don't know. I like to keep these equally sized, so that I can as easily edit stuff in my scene as I can see what the camera sees. So, yeah, you know what? For now, this is cool. For now, this is okay. So let's give the camera something to see. So the hierarchy window, this one. This is the list of all the things that exist in your scene. Right now, we only have two things. We have the main camera and we have a directional light, which is basically the ambient light. This kind of simulates the sun, but let's talk about this later. We can try to turn this off, and nothing happens. So we can try to turn this on again. But we can move the rotation. We can set the rotation to all 0, so we get a nice like nightly shade or whatever. The camera also, I'm not sure, does the camera have an aspect ratio? I think the camera also can have an aspect ratio setting somewhere. But let's dive into all the camera settings later on, because there's a lot of stuff you can set here, like skybox background. If you're like super duper interested and you have to know what you want to know right now, the documentation is always your friend. I mean, Unity is widely used. Unity has matured because it's not, they don't exist since yesterday. So they do have a fairly complete documentation. Everything you need to know. You can be pretty sure the answers out there. Either it's in the documentation itself or it's on Stack Overflow. That's basically the two places you have to look: documentation and Stack Overflow. That's it. That's all you need. So let's add something for simple testing purposes. Unity supplies us with some easy, some simple generic geometry, and we can create a 3D object, and we can select if we want to have a cube, a sphere, a capsule, cylinder, plane, quad, whatever. We can even add Text Mesh Pro. Why that is in 3D object, I have no idea, because that's basically UI stuff. It should be here, and it is. I have no idea why it's here, but, well, it is. So, let's take a cube, because who doesn't like a nice cube? So let's say we want to create a 3D object that's a cube. Bam! And there we got it. There we got a nice cube. It's at pretty weird random locations. So let's set this all to zeros. Rotation is 0. Scale is 1. And you can see down here in the game view, it's not exactly centered, but we can fix this. If we want to be this more or less exactly centered, we can rotate the camera a bit. Let me see about which axis. Gotta move around. So. See, and this is the difference between those two views. This is, again, your scene view where you do your edits, and this is, I can't do anything here. This is just what the camera sees. And if I select, oh yeah, up here, you got your different tools, like what you want to do with this stuff. By default, it's in the move tool mode, so you can grab these arrows and you can move it into the direction the arrows are pointing, or the other one. And everything's fine. Let's find. Okay, yeah, that's pretty centered already. Let's move this up a bit, like to, I don't know, is 5 too much? No, it's okay. And then you have more options up here. You have the rotate tool, you have the scale tool, you have a rectangle tool, and I don't know, just try these out and see what they do. I only know what the first 3 do. So the scale tool, of course, makes things larger and smaller, and the rotate tool allows you, well, you would have guessed it, to rotate. I just rotated somehow. Did I want to rotate that? Thank God we can always enter numbers to make stuff like we actually want this. And again, you can see the axis. Now they are not arrows. Now they are these circles on a sphere. And if I want to tilt the up and down, so from this position, the cube is more centered. It currently looks like it's the red one. Yeah, and see, when I move this one, in my scene view, I see how my object, well, changes. It rotates or it moves. And in my game view, I see the new whatever the camera sees, because if it looks down, it sees something else, like when it's looking up like this. So I can have it look down a bit like this, and now my cube is, I think this is fairly centered. And let's go back to the move tool. So when I now move the cube, of course it moves up and down, and also moves up and down in the game view, because, well, the camera sees the cube moving. However, in this one I can move freely, and this one is, well, wherever the camera is. So let's stick this back to 0, 0, and 0. And because a lonely cube is so lonely, let's add another sphere. So now we have a cube and a sphere, and let's just first set this to 0, 0, 0, and then I think the green one is Y. Let's set this to 1. So we have, if we get closer to this, and there's a nice trick. that works exactly like in Unreal, or the other way around. In Unreal, it works exactly like here. Depends from where you're coming. Let's say I'm somewhere. I'm somewhere, maybe even over the rainbow, and I'm looking into a completely wrong direction. And I actually want to look at my cube and sphere. So what I can do is, I think there's two things I can do. I can double click on my sphere, and I'm here. But I can also simulate looking completely the wrong way. I can click at any object and then hit the F button while I'm in the scene view, which does the very same thing. Then double clicking on one of these things, it focuses the camera onto whatever object you had selected. So it moves the camera closer to the object and also looks directly at the object. But I want to do this from this side. So can I do it from here? Clickety clack and hit the F button. See? And now we have the shiny side of everything. Okay, so now we have a cube with a sphere on top. Now let's say I'm going to be moving the cube. And now we're coming to the part why this view, why this is called hierarchy and not just list of stuff. Because this is not just a list. You can understand this like your folder structure on your hard drive, actually. If you have one folder and you have a lot of files in that folder, if you move one of the files outside to somewhere, only that file is gone. So if I select this cube and I move it around, of course, only this cube moves. But a bit unlike the folder analogy, here it starts working. It stops working perfectly. But let's say, well, you can't put a file into another file. But let's say you have in your folder structure, you have subfolders. And you have files in your subfolders. If you move this subfolder to some other place, all the files that are also in this folder move along with it. They don't stay at the old place. They move to wherever you move the new folder. And you can have something similar in this hierarchy. I can say, okay, this sphere, I can drag this onto the cube and then let go. And you can see it gets a bit indented. And the cube becomes this little arrow icon where I can open and close whatever's below it, which means the sphere is now a child of the cube, which is kind of not exactly. The analogy is a bit not perfect, but well, bear with me. I think you know what I mean. The sphere is now part of the cube. So it's like when you have your file that's in your folder. So if you move your folder, you move everything that's within it. And so the sphere is a child of the cube, which means, Jesus Christ, my speech center needs a reboot as well. Huh? Oh, happy lubrication. Cheers. Well lubricated. If I now move the cube, the sphere moves with it. Because being a child is... I think this wording is even worse than comparing it with files and folders, but it's kind of a sub-object of the cube, which means the cube, it doesn't really own the sphere. The sphere isn't really part of the cube, but they have a relationship together. This sphere has what? This sphere has other father, but it's not the child of cube man. Oh, yeah. The sphere has another father, but it's the child of the cube, nonetheless. Because yeah, it's kind of the stepchild. Oh, I get it. Hey, Thomas! Greetings go out to the flower of the space. I hope you're blooming well. Yeah. Not talking about the post-process effect bloom, even though I like that. I like bloom. I like lens flares. As long as they're not too much. There is such a thing as too much lens flares or too many lens flares, which is basically every one of the new Star Trek movies. So, if I move the cube, you like trains? Yeah, maybe we can make a train out of this. I don't know. Let's see. So if I move the cube, the sphere moves with it because the sphere is, well, childed to the cube. So everything the cube does, the sphere does as well. However, if I only move the sphere, only the sphere moves. And we've talked about this when we did Unreal a bit. There is a difference between world space and local space. And this is maybe something we should... Oh, yeah, this is like I wanted it to have there. Right, cool. This is something maybe we should mention right now, because there's two positions or two... No, let's start a bit further down the road. Every game object has something called a transform, and this is something, if you've been here, if you've seen all the Unreal stuff, it's exactly the same. We said that every actor that's in your scene has a transform, and it's the very same here in Unity. Every game object that's in your scene has a transform. What's the transform? The transform is basically a collection. It's basically three-dimensional vectors. The first one is the position. Where is this thing? The second one is the rotation. What's the orientation? How is it rotated? And the third one is the scale. How larger or bigger than its original size it is. Like if I set the scale on the y-axis to 2, this starts to look quite funny. And it's actually funny. It's actually not bad. And if I set this to something game engines usually really don't like, and this also is not a thing of Unity. Unreal hates this as much. If I do something like 0.5, there's an unwritten rule. Don't do decimals. Always keep it integers. At least as long as you care about performance. If you're just toying around like we just doing here, that's perfectly fine. But if you're actually working on a project, don't put decimals in there. Never. Your performance will hate you. Keep those at integers, like, I don't know, 42. That looks really funny. So we'll just keep this at 1. So this is the transform. The transform tells us where something is, how it's oriented, and the scale, how large it is relative to its original size. And there's a difference. You can have this in local space or in world space. And look at the cube. The cube is currently at position 0, 0, 0. And the sphere is at 0, 1, 0, because I wanted the sphere to be on top of the cube. So, and the cube was 1 in size, so, well, you get the picture. So if I now move the cube, I move it up. And you see how the y value over here, well, it goes up, of course, because I'm moving the thing up. So what else should it do? If I now go to the sphere, it's still at 1. The sphere moved with the cube. It moved upwards with the cube. Let's even move it more up. See? Both are moving. Both are moving up, and the y value of the cube is now by 3.77. But the y value of the sphere is still at 1. And this is something that might cause a lot of confusion and a lot of question marks above your head when you're doing this the first time, because that's the difference between world space and local space. The cube is immediately in this. The cube had the only parent, because something that, well, we just said the sphere is a child of the cube. So the other way around, the cube is the parent object of the sphere. The parent of the cube is our scene, our sample scene. which basically is our world, our whole universe we're currently living in. So the position of the cube, the position is always relative to the parent of the object. And since the parent of our cube is our scene, this position is relative to the whole scene. So this is basically our global position, our world space. And this is why when I move the cube around, why that value changes. But the transform always being relative to the parent is the reason why the sphere stays at 1. Because the sphere, the position of the sphere that we set in here, well, we could set this to -1 and see it's below the cube now. This is relative to the cube. So wherever the cube is, add 1 onto it, and that is the position of our sphere. And this is what the inspector shows us. There is, later when we do code, there's ways to get both. See, and now I moved the sphere, but I wanted to move the cube because I actually want to move this nice and neatly down again. Not to be a downer, but well. Later on when we do code and we access these things, there's a distinction that you can actually get both. You usually by default get the local space, you get the position relative to its parent, I think. Oh, we'll be trying this out. We'll be trying this out. Where was I? Yeah. And there's functions where we can actually say, no, Unity, wait, I do not want the location of this thing. Like, I don't know. Let's say you want an enemy. The enemy wants to shoot at something, and the enemy wants to shoot at this sphere. So you need to know where the projectile of the enemy needs to go to. So you don't care about the local position of the sphere relative to the cube, because we can put this further. Do we have like a pyramid style thingy? Cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, quad. What's a quad? Nah. Don't we have something like, I don't know, a pyramid-like thingy? Okay, let's use the capsule. Let's do something that I said we don't want to do. Let's set this to 0.5, so it's not that big. And let's attach this to the sphere, and then move it a bit up and give this all zeros, and this is a 1. They are full. Right, so now look at this. This is where it gets really confusing. The cube has a position of 0, 1, 0. While the 1 being the y value, the y-axis. But the sphere also has 1, 0, 1 as its position. And now look at the capsule. Even the capsule has a 1, 0, 1. The only reason why you knew that I selected the capsule is because the scale changes. So they all have the same transform. They all have the same position. They all have 0, 1, 0 as position, but yet they are stacked on top of each other, and they are not at the very same actual position in our world, in our scene. This is because the positions, as I've said, I think too many times, so last time, the positions are relative to the parent. So the capsule is 1 up in the y-axis, on top of wherever the sphere is. And the sphere is 1 on top wherever the cube is. And the cube is actually somewhere in the scene. So now let's say you have an enemy, and the enemy wants to shoot at the capsule above here. So the enemy, you don't care about this 1, 0, 1 position. You're supposed to get like 0, 3, 0. Avari, hello there. A wonderful evening. Nice for you to stop by. Hi. Yada yada yada. Where were we? Oh yeah. So if you would get the 1, 0, 1, your enemy would actually shoot at the cube, which in this case would be by pure coincidence, because the cube relative to the whole, to the scene, to the whole world, actually has the 0, 1, 0. But if we set this to like 2, let's set this to 0, 2, 0. And if you're grabbing this transform, the 1, 0, 1, your enemy would completely miss. He would shoot under the cube, and he would completely miss everything. And he would look, why? But this is 1, 0, 1, and this is the position, and I'm aiming my projectile at this position. Yeah, because this is the local position. And again, when we're doing code, and I think we're going to be starting with actual code, we'll be doing this next week, because for this week we're already closing in to wrapping up. But because the parented objects, exactly, yeah, exactly. So the actual position of this is the combination of all the parents, and you don't have to do this by hand. You don't have to see, oh, does this have a parent? What position does this have? Does this have a parent? What position does this have? There is, when we do code, there is a function where you can actually get the world space coordinate. This is the dead horse I'm beating for, like, I don't know, 20 minutes now. This is the difference why when you're accessing the API from your C# code, why sometimes you have something that's called world space and sometimes you get something that's called local space. Because when you ask for the local space coordinates, you get this. You get the 0, 1, 0. If in your code you ask for the world space coordinates of this game object, you will get 0, 4, 0. Because that's the sum of all those positions. Because let's make this, let's even, I don't know what axis is what. Let's even move this a bit more like so. So the world space position you would get for the capsule now would be 1 for X, 4 for Y, and 0 for Z, because we didn't move that in any case. Because this is because the cube starts at 1, 2, right? And then we got 0, 1, and then we got another 0, 1. So this is the important difference when we're accessing the transforms of game objects, to know that there is the local space, which is just relative to its parent, and then there's the world space, which is the actual position in our scene. Like if I would create another what do we, yeah, let's just, oh wait, this is empty. Haha, didn't want empty. We are talking about empty game objects as well, because empty game objects are lovely things and necessary things and helpful things. So let's create another capsule, but let's just squish it down on the y-axis a bit, and maybe even a bit more. And this is not parented to everything. This is like our cube. This is just directly somewhere in the scene. Seafloat, hi. Greetings go out on this wonderful evening. Hope you're having a good time. Hi, nice for you to stop by. So we move this to, we give this a location of, what did I say? 1 on the x-axis, 4 on the y-axis, and 0 on the z-axis, because we can. And you can see, now it starts actually looking like something. This is cute. I like this. This is my version of a snowman. You can see this capsule and this capsule, even though they don't look the same because I squished it a bit so we actually have a visual distinction. But they are at the very same coordinates, even though the transform doesn't say so. But the 140 is actually the world space coordinates of this one. So yeah, when you coding enemies that shoot at stuff, make sure you get the world space coordinates of your objects so your projectiles don't miss. Because we can do, just for demonstration, just because it's so much fun, we can make another sphere. And to be able to differentiate that, we also make this a bit smaller. And we set this to, what is it? 0, 1, 0. We set this to 0, 1, 0. This is where your enemy would shoot to. This is it. Your enemy, if you get the wrong set of coordinates, your enemy would shoot at this point and not at this. It would completely miss. And you would sit there for hours maybe, if you're unlucky, and go like, I am getting the coordinates. Why do I miss my target? Why don't I hit? And that might be the reason. So that's always a thing worth keeping in mind. Snowman! Up until last weekend, you could have done Snowman IRL. Yeah, here as well. It fortunately got warmer again. It's still getting late in the evening, and we're still having like almost 10 degrees plus positive, 10 positive degrees outside, which is quite amazing. And all the snow on the roofs, it's all gone. It's all melted away. But yeah, last week at this time, there was more than enough snow out there to actually build snowman like this. I've seen a picture of someone who built a snow cat, and I really like that idea. I think the next time it'll snow, I'll build a snow cat rather than a snowman. I like that, because the snow woman idea just gets old, but snow cat is something new. I like that. Yeah. Z-Flood is currently working on my Game of Life Unreal. Oh, that's cool. That's nice to hear. At the moment, I was wondering if you can find the source code somewhere. Yes, you can. Do I have GitHub? Yes, but it's not on GitHub, but it's still publicly available. I can give you the link. Yes. The tutorial has been super helpful. Oh, that's amazing to hear. That's wonderful to hear. Glad it was of help. And if you have any questions, just, I'm not sure if you're already, it was social, I think. There's many ways where you can ask your questions. Option 1 is you join the Devcom Discord, links in the chat. Option 2 is you can tweet at me at is this readable? Can you actually see this? You can tweet at me at the Real Hellcat. Let me see if I can just for a moment switch to this scene. Yeah, it's a bit better real there. You can tweet at me either at the Real Hellcat or at SpaceFlowerDE. Both work. The first one is my personal Twitter account. The second one is the Twitter account of our studio. Or you can use the hashtag AskDevcomTutorials. But no one ever has used that so far, unfortunately. So I actually stopped looking at it. So yeah, either tweet at me directly using one of those handles, or join the Devcom Discord. And feel free to tag me if you have a question. I don't know, if you have the feeling that I missed it, I didn't see it. I should be easy to find in the Discord. Same name. So feel free to tag me. Or mention me, highlight me, ping me, whatever the proper verbiage for that is. And I will see that I get to your question, either live here, if I can make it, if it kind of fits, or I'll just immediately answer you on Twitter or the whatever. So let's see. Where is the... I have it somewhere here. Here. Devcom Tutorials Game of Life. Yes. And I think it should work. I can try this out by going into an incognito window and pasting it into there. And It works. Perfect. Here's the link. Links in the chat. This is the complete project for the Unreal Engine Game of Life thing. It's ready. You can check this out. You can immediately, without having to do anything, open this in Unreal, run it, try it out, play with the code, do whatever you want with it. Yeah, and have fun. And again, if you have questions, please do ask them. I can't stress this enough. There is only one stupid question. And the only stupid question there can be is the one not being asked. So once you did ask your question, by definition, it's not a stupid question anymore. So feel free. I'm more than happy to answer all questions in regards to this. And I would even like to do this live here on stream, because that's why we're here. And also, well, yeah, for all the asking questions stuff. Yeah, this is literally why we're here. And now we're going somewhere else, because thank you for your feedback. This is very, very this is very cool to hear. And Averwill will watch the Unreal stuff on Saturday. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've seen any of the Unreal tutorial sessions yet. There's quite a lot. We have done 10 sessions of Unreal last year, where we did all the C++ stuff, and we did, just before today, we did three evenings where we did a bit of getting started 101, like, okay, opening Unreal for the first time and having no idea where to click. Yeah. So they are all on YouTube. So they are preserved for all eternity. So every bad joke I did, it's there to stay. But fortunately, I didn't do that many jokes where we're having fun with coding and stuff. Yeah. Okay. So this is the very first intro to how to work with the Unity editor. We haven't covered everything yet. We haven't covered the part down here yet, but we will. As soon as we do have assets that we can and want to manage, we will talk about this. Just a little spoiler. Everything you have on your hard drive is an asset, like the scene, or when you have 3D objects, or especially our C# scripts that we'll start writing from next week on. They're assets, and they have to be somewhere, and you have to find them somewhere. And this somewhere is right down here. This will be getting important when we start writing our scripts and when we start talking about prefabs, because those are the next two things. Next week, we will use, where is it? Oh, no, yeah, wrong. Yeah, see, this doesn't work here, of course. Next week, we will be using this. No, not this one. Yeah, this one. That's the one we'll start using next week, because next week we will, after we know what to do here, we will start creating our first C# script, so that what I did manually, moving these things around, we can do with code completely automagically. And then this will be important, because this is where we find our scripts, and this is where we find everything. This is where we find our textures, our sound files, our prefabs. Because once we've done a bit scripting, once we've looked at how can I move this at all with code, we will look at player input. How can I move this based on player input, like keyboard or joypad or whatever you have? And once we have done this, we will be talking about prefabs. What are prefabs? Why are prefabs? And how are prefabs used? So stay tuned for all of these things, starting this week, continuing Not next week, by the way. Did I say next week? No. Next week, Thursday, there's a different program on this channel. I think it's the Call for Change Summit that will be here next Thursday. So the next session of tutorials will be in 2 weeks from now on. Not next week, because there will be a stream live here, so you won't be left alone. There will be a stream here. It just won't be the tutorial stream, but it will be one I will watch myself. So yeah, maybe we can meet in the chat or something. And in 2 weeks from now, we'll be starting with all the amazing things I just said. If you have questions you want to be covered, again, please do ask them. I would love to cover the answers to your question while doing all these things. Like if you already know when we start doing C#, you have specific questions about this, please do send them to me so I can see to cover them during the session. Or if you have questions, I don't know, if I haven't beaten the dead horse enough about local space and world space, if you're like, can I again have, what's the difference between local space and world space coordinates? Yeah, I can do that. If you want that, that's perfectly fine. So everyone, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks again for the feedback. Thank you for the questions we had tonight. Thank you for just bearing with me and listening to my sometimes rambling style stuff I say. I had a great time. I hope you did so too. And well, see you in 2 weeks right here, and in 1 week in the chat when there's I think it's the Call for Change Summit. Yeah. So, yeah, everyone, have a wonderful evening. See you around on the wide world, on the world coordinates of the internet. Twitter, Discord, Twitch, wherever the waves carry us to. Have a nice evening. See you around. And bye. And this didn't work because the other buttons didn't work, and this one doesn't work so reliably as well. Let's try this again. Bye.